Welcome to Blog Stars. These three, I'm sure, if you do any regular blog reading in LA, you probably recognize them, or their names at least.
My name is Carol Lynn, and I've been a traditional journalist for 20 years. I started in local news, and actually started in Washington for a satellite news service, and basically lucked into some on-air work, eventually came to Los Angeles at KTTV, and then went on to ABC News and then CNN. So I've been a traditional anchor correspondent who, from just some very sort of dramatic personal life changes, got an interest in healthcare, and came to this point where traditional journalism wasn't what it was for me anymore. And as you know, working in it, it asks a lot of you in your life. And so that personal commitment really is important to me. So I'm developing now an online forum. It's a healthcare forum. And we finally have our 10-second elevator speech, which is, tell us a little bit about yourself, and we will connect you not only to your family and your friends, but to the best medical resources in your neighborhood and in the world. And I'm developing this forum. It's got editorial, but it's got some technology, which is a search tool. And I'm about to enter a partnership with Stanford Research Institute for the technology and maybe a major healthcare group to launch in their cancer space.
Michael Schneider, and I'm TV editor at Variety. Actually, went to Northwestern, and straight out of school started working, covering the TV beat, sort of the business behind television. Who's hired, who's fired, what shows are canceled, what executives are in and out, how are people making money, that kind of stuff. So I've been covering the TV business beat for since '95, so 13 years now, around the turn of the decade, actually, I started reading a lot of blogs and started just, sort of thinking how fun that would be to sort of find another outlet. By day, I write about a very specific beat, television and the business of television. But, and there isn't much time to freelance and sort of, do other things. So I thought a blog would be a perfect opportunity to sort of write about some of my other interests. And my wife and I actually launched our blog in 2003, just covering life in Los Angeles, from restaurant reviews to events to just things we go to, things that interest us about LA, shopping, retail, and my personal interest in local media, so I write a lot about local TV and radio as well. And it's sort of just a hodgepodge of Los Angeles stuff, and we managed to get in right before sort of the real blog explosion.
I had always been a commenter on my friends' blogs, but I always said I was never going to write unless I got money for it. My friend, the late Kathy Sipe, who is a local journalist here in town and a very popular blogstress, referred me to a guy named Dorian Ben Coyle, who was the editorial director of Mediabistro. Mediabistro is, which I'm sure some of you guys know, is a big site that they offer classes, they have a job posting board, which is how they make their money. That's really important. The job board is what... Anyway, a woman named Laurel Truby in New York, who's really smart, sold it to Jupiter Media for $24 million. I was the editor, one of the editors of the Fishbowl LA blog. Kathy had referred me, and I always thought it was like a part-time job. Gawker and Defamer get base rates. Our blog only paid by the post, which is really hard. You get really good at time management, because I still have a full-time job in TV. Putting yourself out in your digital identity, like my Facebook page. I love Facebook. I don't have as many friends as Ariana, but I have a lot. And the cool thing about Facebook is, a cat can look at a king. I can email somebody because they know somebody else who knows me. I'm not going to meet Kurt Anderson, who started Spy Magazine, any other way, trust me.
Almost routinely now, whenever you make an appointment, whether you're going to interview somebody or someone is going to interview you for a job, routinely now, you will be guaranteed that they will Google you or plug you into a search engine and find out your digital identity. That can cut both ways. I mean, if you can manage your digital identity, and you can't always control it, and just because it's on the internet doesn't mean it's true. And so, but that's your digital identity. So you think, oh, traditional journalist with no other digital identity other than my corporate identity, going out on my own, it's really kind of, it's weird, because if you think about the amount of time it would take for somebody who's already having to make a living, right? Like, you got your bills, you got to make a living, and now you realize, oh my God, I got to create my digital identity because now I realize I need one. Well, there are all sorts of forms, like, well, should you have a MySpace page? Because if you have a MySpace page but not a Facebook, if you choose MySpace over Facebook, that actually says something about you.
So throughout the day, what I do is, like, I'll troll different blogs, I'll read different things, what have you, and so I'll throw, like, dump, like, bits and pieces, URLs, sort of text, like these just like raw copy into Blogger, which is the system that I use for my blog. And then at the end of the day, usually it's late at night, midnight, 1 a.m. before I go to bed, I finally go through those posts, put together the pieces into coherent posts, although on occasion I've found that when I'm posting at 1 a.m., I'll read my post the next day and it's just such a mess that I have to rewrite it. Blogging while sleeping, I think, is a new epidemic. But it's tough. It's sort of, it is a beast, and once you sort of, I've been doing my blog for 5 years now. Darlene, you've been doing yours for 10?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
At some point, like, when you've been doing it that long, you sort of, you don't know what the end game is, but you can't stop now. It's addictive.
Yeah.
You got to do it. You feed the beast. Ultimately this is going to lead to something. I don't know what yet, but this is the thing about, for me, blogging, that's mine. I've got my day job, which these days, I don't know about you guys, but my publication is increasingly wanting us to be online. Variety has its own blogs they want us to participate in. They want us to break things on the web now. There's so much pressure at the job to feed their beast that I decided I needed my own space. I knew I wanted my own sort of control over something, and at the same time I wanted a identity. I wanted to stand out. I wanted to have something that was also a calling card that ultimately I could use as much as my job in interviews and things like that. And I've had job interviews before where I've asked them point blank, can I continue blogging? And if they've said, well, we really aren't sure, that's kind of been the end of it.
Yeah.
At this point, that's going forward going to be important to me. If my future employer does not want me to continue my blog, I probably won't take that job.
And there are companies that, like at CNN, you're not allowed to blog at work. So if you actually log on to, like, newsrooms are filled with computers, right? If you log on to a company computer and you post from the company computer, you could be punished, you could be fired. It's a fireable offense. So you have to. So there are people who bring their personal laptops to work, and whatever they do on their personal laptop is their personal business. And then there's this other issue. Let's say you are wildly successful with your blog and you get a book deal, and there are other sort of successes that come from it. Your company could technically claim some ownership of it if you did those things at work.
We like to just live with blinders on till it's like the whole
Yeah.
world.